So by now, I'm sure many of you are aware of the Dragon Age review code controversy that has been going around the past few days, with some people claiming that BioWare and EA are manipulating the reviews of their game by only sending out codes to specific content creators who were not going to be critical of the game. That has already been proven to be false by the simple fact that there are plenty of negative reviews out there from people who were given codes. But there is still a question from some people, why didn't certain content creators get review codes when they were flown out to an event and provided hands-on access? Why didn't they get codes? There was this is what I've heard from many people, and this is one of the reasons I wanted to make this video. I've heard conversations along the lines of, they were flown out to the event. It was guaranteed that they were going to get it. They were told that they were a shoe-in, and there's this unspoken promise that you're going to get a review code just because you were flown to an event. And I made a video the other day about content creators being upset, and we talked a little bit about influencer marketing campaigns. Slandered did a great live stream the other day where he covered my video and talked about some things, and I watched his conversations. And shout out to Slandered, go follow him if you aren't. He does great coverage around RPGs. He's a really solid dude. That video and some of the commentary on my own channel made me sit up and go, you know what, this is a learning opportunity, so I'm going to take the moment to go out there and talk a little bit about influencer marketing campaigns, and sort of educate people on how this works. Before we get to that, if you don't know who I am or what I did before I got into content creation around video games, my wife and I were travel influencers, pretty high up in the travel influencer space before we shut everything down at the end of 2017. We were public speakers. We were flown around the world by governments and big travel chains, big hotel chains, the biggest names in the industry. And I wrote white papers on travel influencer campaigns. I created travel influencer campaigns for companies ranging from small, 12 to 15 influencer campaigns up to campaigns that relied upon hundreds of influencers. Then I founded two different game studios, one which launched an MMORPG and the other one which has done much smaller stuff with tabletop campaigns, and a point-and-click adventure game and fantasy novels. And I've managed influencer campaigns within that space as well before I got into doing full-time content creation here on my channel. You don't have to take my word for that. Go look me up if you would like to take the time to do your due diligence to show that I'm not just somebody who's spouting this out of my ass. I actually do know what I'm talking about. So influencer marketing campaigns are 100% about curating the type of content that you want in exchange for whatever you're offering the influencer. So if I give someone a review code, as an example, I am expecting that they're going to give me fairly positive coverage. That's why I'm giving them the code. And there's a difference between the press coverage, the traditional media outlets, which actually have game journalism going on, and the influencer side of things and the content creation side of things. There have been some discussions about how it's, they're manipulating. It's not manipulation. This is known, okay? Influencer marketing campaigns are all about curating positive coverage for your game, for your destination, for your product. So typically speaking, you're going to send review codes to the people that you know or at least hope are going to provide you with fairly solid coverage. Even if they do have some things that they critique, the overall review is expected to be positive. Now, it's a little fuzzy when you do just a review code. It's definitely expected if you, as the host, if I pay for your flight and your airfare and your hotel, and I bring you in and I have you cover whatever it is that I'm having you cover. It might be a restaurant, it might be, a tour operator, it might be a video game, it might be an album, it might be an art exhibit. If I, as the host, have spent thousands of dollars to bring you in as a influencer, as a content creator, I am expecting that you're going to give me positive coverage. In fact, I have probably done my due diligence and I have either already talked to you to ensure that you're going to be the type of person that I know is going to resonate with what I have to offer, or you're someone who I've worked with before who I know is going to give me fair and positive coverage in exchange for the money that I'm spending to bring you in. And if you're big enough in this space, you're also going to get a paycheck associated with your review, which is why it's important when these types of things happen. There is a sponsored tag on the videos, or there's an ad tag added somewhere highly visible in the, there needs to be disclosure so that people are aware that the influencer was provided with compensation in the form of either cash and or flights, hotels, food, transport, all that stuff. Review codes are a little fuzzier because you're kind of just sending a code out and saying, here's a code, enjoy the game, and then you wait and see, and you're hoping that the people give you positive coverage. Now, sometimes when you're running influencer marketing campaigns, there are going to be people on the list who might not necessarily give you good coverage, but you send it to them anyway because they're big enough names, and you are hoping that they're going to give you good coverage because that can result in lots of sales. There is always the risk that when you send something out to big name creators that they're not going to like it. And we saw a couple of big creators who did not like Dragon Age Veilguard, which immediately dispels any of the conspiracy theories that BioWare only sent codes to the people who were guaranteed to give good coverage. That's already been proven false. However, it is absolutely true from an influencer marketing campaign perspective that companies curate their reviews. Duh. Like, that's how influencer marketing campaigns work. I don't go hire someone. I'm not going to go spend thousands of dollars on someone to bring them in to have them smash my product, to have them, tear me apart. I'm not going to spend thousands of dollars to fly someone in and put them up in a hotel and give them food and transport only for them to go home and tear me apart. And if I do fly someone in and they go away and they have a negative experience, or they have something negative to say, and if that negativity is not covered in a constructive critiquing manner, if the manner in which they critique the things they didn't like is seen as destructive for the purpose of just being negative, that person then gets blacklisted and will never again get review codes from me, the host, nor will they ever be invited to events ever again from us as a host. And we will also, if anyone ever asks, can this person be relied upon? Is this person trustworthy? I, as the host, will be letting other people know that here's what went down with this person. I think it's a risk. You might want to take that risk if you want, but for us, we will never work with them again because of these reasons. Influencer marketing campaigns are not about providing journalistic coverage. Influencer marketing is not about you are not a journalist, okay? There's a big difference between being a journalist and being a content creator and an influencer in the space. As a games journalist, if you are an actual credentialed journalist working for a journalistic publication, there are standards and practices that are adhered to from quality publications, and there are lines that are not crossed when it comes to, they can't receive compensation, they can't receive airfare, they can't receive these things. Like, there is definitely a line that doesn't get crossed when it comes to investigative journalism. But game review codes fall under the whole, we are scratching your back by giving you something for free, and generally speaking, we expect you to scratch our back in return. Now, that's not always going to be the case. And in all markets, it's not just gaming, it's any market out there. If you are going to attempt to have a good reputation as a company, you're going to want to work with lots of different media outlets, and you're going to want to work with lots of different content creators. So you're going to generally want to give codes to people because you want as much coverage as possible, because there's also no such thing as bad press, generally speaking. Like, everything generates views, everything generates clicks, and everything at the end of the day can result in sales. So there is no conspiracy. When it comes to influencer marketing, if you invite 1,000 people to an event, and you have them do the coverage, and then you go away from that, and then you look at the coverage. Quick commercial break, everyone, to celebrate and give thanks to all of these amazing people who keep me on the air full time. Really appreciate the support. All you got to do is join as a member. You get access to private videos. You can also do super thanks on any upload, or super chats and stickers on any live stream or premiere you see. And beyond that, don't forget we're multi-streaming over on Twitch now, so you can support over there as well. Thanks so much to everybody. Let's get back to the video at hand. You might not have 1,000 keys to give out. You might only have 300 keys to give out. So it is a decision that is made by whoever's running the marketing campaign as to who gets those codes. It's not necessarily about whether or not you were at an event 2 months before. And it's not necessarily about whether or not you've provided really good coverage for that game before. Sometimes the codes go out at random. Literally. Sometimes they have a pool and they say these are the 1,000 people that we could give codes to, but we only have 300 codes. Let's hit a random generator and let's just send these codes out to a random 300 people on the list. That legitimately takes place. Other campaigns are more curated, where you have 300 keys to give out, and you go down the list of 1,000 people and you say, I want this person to have a code, I want this person to have a code, I want this person to have a code. And it also has nothing to do with numbers. Any good campaign manager knows that sometimes you want big influencers, but you also want macro and micro influencers, because those people tend to have a very strong connection with their fan bases, even if they are a much smaller, say in the range of 10 or 20,000, 50,000 followers, as opposed to the people who have 500,000 or a million followers. It has nothing to do with whether or not someone did or didn't provide critical critiquing of the game in the past, although that can impact in some cases depending on the campaign managers. But it is not a conspiracy that certain people didn't get codes. It's just sometimes you get codes and sometimes you don't get codes. Having worked on influencer campaigns, I can tell you very much that sometimes from a campaign manager perspective, we want to work with these people because we've never worked with them before, and we may have worked with these people in the past, but we'd like to get a little more diversity in our reviews this time. So rather than only working with the same people that we've worked with last time, this time around we want to work with some different people, and so we give different people codes. There's no favoritism being shown. There's no conspiracy going on. That's just how it works. Now, I could probably spend the next 10 hours talking to you about influencer marketing campaigns and the ins and outs of KPIs and ROIs, and how to establish a great working relationship with a brand, and what we look for in influencers. I mentioned this briefly the other day in my other video. I personally don't give review codes out to anybody that I don't either personally know or know someone who can personally vouch for that person. Like, there needs to be, for me personally, when I've managed campaigns, I need to know the person, which means there's an interview process, there is a face-to-face interview process, there is a deep dive into the type of content that creator creates on their channel. There is an investigation into, have they ever done anything that is controversial on their channel, or have they ever said controversial things that might not reflect the values of us as a company. Those are all things that can impact whether or not that person is going to get a review code. There's a lot of complexities to influencer marketing campaigns, but the one thing I can assure you is there's no conspiracy going on. But at the same time, influencer marketing campaigns are 100% about curating the reviews that you want to receive, especially in the case where there are flights, accommodations, and other things being put on the table, and especially when there's money being paid. There's nothing wrong with a content creator giving constructive criticism when they review a game and critiquing, but we are generally expecting that the coverage is going to be positive in exchange for all the money we are spending on you as an influencer and a content creator. Again, review codes are just a tiny little bit different, but they fall into that same category, and it's important to understand the totality of the conversation without having knee-jerk reactions about how, oh, there's a conspiracy. There is not a conspiracy. This is just how influencer marketing campaigns work. hopefully that's been an educational moment for everybody today. Loved to see you guys in the next stream. We are obviously going to be covering a lot of Dragon Age Veilguard in the coming weeks ahead. So we're starting tomorrow bright and early. We'll be live, and as always, multi-streaming on YouTube and Twitch with coverage in all of our social medias and beyond. We'll see you in the next one, everybody. Stay safe and happy gaming.